2020 TOC Trucking Safe, Safety and Environmental Expectations. Objectives: TOC Trucking LLC employees are to follow all federal, state, and local laws, rules, and regulations when working on all customer properties, including but not limited to the following. 1. Identification of customer warning signs and their meaning. 2. Hazard recognition and documentation process. 3. How to apply stop work authority. TOC personnel will fully support stop work initiatives by any worker on a customer location. Objectives continue. 4. Requirements for personal protective equipment, fall protection, and hydrogen sulfide. 5. TOC's requirements for performing hot work, confined space entry, and lockout and tagout. 6. TOC's expectations for fire response, hot oiler operations, and incident and accident management. Objectives continue. 7. TOC's expectations for operating motor vehicles on lease roads. 8. TOC's drug, alcohol, and firearm guidelines. 9. TOC's requirements for environmental protection and spill reporting. Warning signs at all batteries. Review and understand each symbol and what hazard it represents. Contact customer at the number on the sign in case of an emergency. Warning signs on pumping units. Observe and follow these warnings when working on or around pumping units. 1. Pay attention to where you park in case unit fails. 2. Do not attempt to work on unit while it's energized. Hazard observation and identification. 1. A hazardous condition or behavior was observed and reported, so it may be corrected. 2. No damage or injury occurred. Incident. 3. There was not a near miss. Incident. Hazard recognition. 1. Prior to commencement of any job, a hazard recognition and risk assessment must be performed. 2. TOC has a well-defined procedure for hazard recognition and risk assessment to eliminate or control hazards. 3. This procedure must be followed at every job site. 4. Compliance with this procedure must be documented. Examples: job safety analysis, job hazard analysis. How do you stop work? Why we use a timeout. Simple, non-confrontational, visual, no language barrier, familiar to most people. Stop work. 1. Work was actually stopped after a hazardous condition or behavior was observed, so it may be corrected. 2. No damage or injury occurred. Incident. 3. There was not a near miss. OSHA defines a near miss as an incident in which no property was damaged and no personal injury was sustained, but where, given a slight shift in time or position, damage or injury easily could have occurred. Stop work authority. 1. All personnel on a customer's location has the authority to stop work to prevent unsafe conditions or behaviors from leading to an injury, property damage, or environmental impact. 2. Stopping work to prevent incidents is a positive action on customer locations. 3. Stop work will always be fully supported by TOC, trucking, and customer. 4. Please notify TOC manager and a customer representative of any stop works. OSHA required training. TOC employees must have the basic training as applicable to their job scope prior to working on customers' properties. Examples: confined spaces, emergency action plan and post-incident plan, fall protection, excavation and trenching, fire safety and hot work, hazard communication, lockout and tagout, medical and first aid, personal protective equipment, respiratory, H2S, ID, LH atmospheres, forklift and man lift, crane, well control, personal protective equipment, PPE. All OSHA directives, 1910 Subpart I and 1926 Subpart D, must be followed in reference to PPE, including, but not limited to, FRC, footwear, hard hats, eye protection, and H2S monitor. Personal protective equipment. 1. Minimum PPE requirements. On customer locations, FRC, protective safety footwear, ASTM F2413, hard hats, eye protection, ANSI Z87.1, and H2S monitor. 2. All items must be worn on all customer field locations by all personnel. Job title does not exempt any TOC employees or representatives from complying. 3. Additional PPE may be required per hazard assessment. Example, 2 forms of eye protection, face shield, and safety glasses when grinding. PPE electrical. All authorized personnel working with electrical circuits must be trained, licensed, or qualified. NFPA 70E. PPE fall protection. Fall protection will be used in accordance with 1. OSHA 1910 Subpart D, Walking and Working Surfaces, and 1910.140, Personal Fall Protection. 2. OSHA 1926 Subpart E, Personal Protective and Life-Saving Equipment, and 1926.104, Safety Belts, Lifelines, and Lanyards. H2S requirements. 1. If a H2S monitor alerts, evacuate the area immediately. 2. Contact TOC and a customer representative. 3. All work should be stopped until the hazard is corrected. 4. Never attempt to rescue anyone you suspect is down due to H2S unless you've been trained, equipped, and have backup personnel. H2S IDLH requirements. 1. TOC employees must meet OSHA's requirements for both working in hydrogen sulfide and compliance with respiratory protection standard 29 CFR 1910.134. 2. Any facial hair, sideburns, corrective lenses, or other PPE that interferes with face-to-face piece seal or valve function will not be permitted if the employee is in the respiratory protection program. Warning sign at IDLH batteries only. Emergency backup is required if the job scope could release any gas into the atmosphere. The job will be stopped until emergency backup arrives on location. Hot work permitting requirements. Hot work permitting requirements. 1. An OSHA-compliant hot work permitting process, 29 CFR 1910.252, is required prior to any work that involves welding, heat treating, grinding, abrasive blasting, and other similar applications using spark, flame, or heat within 35 feet of a flammable or combustible source. Check with customer's area management for additional requirements. 2. In addition, any activity using tools or equipment not rated for hazardous atmospheres will require the use of a hot work permit when working inside of a facility's containment, berm, or firewall. If that facility is active or has ever been exposed to hydrocarbon, liquid, or gas, a customer-approved third-party safety company is required to complete the hot work permit and oversee compliance. Inside firewall third-party safety, company required to write the permit and supervise the hot work. 35 feet or less from source of fuel, hot work permit must be written. Hot work permitting requirements. 3. Designated personnel will continually monitor the atmosphere with a calibrated gas detector. If a flammable or combustible gas leaks 10% of the lower explosive limit, LEL, the work must be stopped. 4. Work and environment should be relocated outside of the hazardous areas when possible. Compressed gas cylinders. All compressed gas cylinders used in hot work or welding applications must have flame arresters downstream of the regulators to prevent flashbacks. 6. Compressed cylinders shall be secured in an upright position, and valve protection caps on all cylinders is not in use. 29 CFR 1910.101. Confined space permitting requirements. All confined spaces on customer locations are entry by permit only. 1. In addition, entry into any vehicle at an active facility requires a customer-approved third-party safety company to function as the entry and supervisor, and responsible for the required permit. 2. Customer will schedule the third-party safety company when required. 3. Every contractor employee participating in confined space entry is required to be trained according to OSHA's Confined Space Standard 29 CFR 1910.146. 4. Never allow or conduct entry into a confined space if the atmospheric conditions are not suitable as defined in 29 CFR 1910.146. Non-entry vessel tank cleaning. All confined spaces on customer locations are entry by permit only. 1. Third-party safety company is required to provide safety supervision. 2. Continuous monitoring should be implemented at the opening. 3. No entry into the space is allowed. 4. Use of supplied air to be determined by third-party safety company when removing the hatch. Lockout and tagout requirements. 1. Lockout tagout (LOTO) must be performed by all TOC employees when working in an area where the unwanted release of harmful energy must be prevented. 2. TOC has a lockout tagout program including training, locks, and tags 29 CFR 1910.147. 3. Direct any questions regarding energy isolation to customer foreman or lease operator who scheduled the job, and a customer representative will assist in identifying energy sources and flow. TOC fire response. 1. Follow TOC policy for fighting a fire involving TOC equipment. 2. Do not attempt to extinguish a fire that is burning customer property, equipment, or products. Evacuate. Call 911. Contact TOC and customer representative immediately. TOC hot oiler expectations. 1. The minimum spacing required for trucks to be located from the wellhead is 100 feet. 2. At locations where this may be impractical, ensure appropriate safety measures are taken, such as a 4-gas monitor, continuous monitoring, and a windsock. 3. Follow your company's policy and/or procedure in operating valves and discharge lines. 4. Follow your company's policy and/or procedure if the wind direction changes during operations. TOC hot oiler expectations continue. 5. Operator required to be at controls when hot oiling a well and/or a flow line. 6. The internal and external fire extinguisher system must be inspected per regulations. 7. Follow company's policies when hydrocarbons, volatile fluids, or wellhead natural gas is bled back into the tank on the hot oiler. 8. The valve from the wellhead must be in the closed position when bleed down is performed. Post-incident and accident management. 1. All TOC employees are required to immediately make a verbal report of incident to your designated customer representative. 2. Incident or incidents include but are not limited to injuries, equipment and property damage, motor vehicle incidents, spills, fires, and near misses. 3. A post-accident drug and alcohol screen must be conducted immediately on any worker that is involved in an incident while working on a customer's location. 4. As part of any post-accident investigation by customer, all TOC employees shall allow on-site interviews as requested by customer employees, investigators, and other authorized representatives of all witnesses at the site where the accident occurred. Post-incident and accident management. 5. TOC management will be required to submit a formal incident investigation report to include causal factors, corrective actions, and date of completion of actions. Operating motor vehicles on customer property. 1. A maximum speed limit of 25 miles per hour unless otherwise posted. 2. All occupants of vehicles, including industrial equipment, forklifts, are expected to wear seat belts anytime the vehicle is in motion. 3. Drive responsibly as conditions permit. Drugs, alcohol, and firearms restrictions. The use, possession, transportation, promotion, or sale of illegal drugs or drug paraphernalia and/or otherwise legal but illicitly used substances by anyone while on TOC and/or customer sites or performing any work for TOC and/or customer is absolutely prohibited. Possession or transportation of alcoholic beverages, firearms, live ammunition, Explosives or weapons are also prohibited. Vehicles in living quarters are subject to search on TOC or customer locations at any time. Drugs, alcohol, and firearms restrictions. TOC employees who are found in violation of these prohibitions will not be allowed on TOC and customer sites and may be referred to law enforcement agencies. Please notify your supervisors and a customer representative of any potential violations of TOC's drug, alcohol, and firearms restrictions. Do not confront potential violators of these restrictions. Let management address these issues. Environmental protection. TOC is committed to protecting the environment and expects the same from all employees working on TOC and/or customer locations. Compliance with all applicable federal and state environmental regulations is mandatory. All spills and releases must be reported to a TOC and customer representative immediately. If a contractor's hired third-party contractor and/or employee contributes or cause a spill or release, the contractor with the MSA will be responsible for the cost of remediation and restoration. Liquids, loading, and unloading guidelines. In consideration of the hazards associated with this type of operation, it is imperative that the transport driver maintain continuous observation of the process from beginning to end. 1. Park vehicle, upwind if possible, and set brakes. 2. Upon exiting vehicle, wear all required PPE. 3. Use wheel chocks or equivalent measures to prevent unexpected movement during transfer of materials. 4. Properly connect grounding cable. 5. Check hoses and couplings for damage and repair and replace as needed prior to loading or unloading. Liquids loading and unloading guidelines continued. 6. Gauge tank or observe liquid level gauge to assure adequate cargo capacity to accept material. Connect vehicle, loading and unloading hose and vent line. If vent is absent, open all appropriate valves in storage tank and cargo trailer. Ensure vent line is routed to a safe area. 7. Position spill bucket or similar drip catch if one is not available under hose connections at both the vehicle and facility load line, ensuring any drips are captured. 8. After the material is loaded, close valve to storage tank. 9. Disconnect facility loading hose completely. Close load valve, plug and fasten securely, and disconnect vent line. 10. Close all thief hatches open during the loading or unloading process. Liquids, loading, and unloading guidelines continued. 11. Close all vehicle valve caps. Disconnect hoses and safely manage any remaining liquids, including load line containment, catch pans, drip buckets, etc. 12. Replace all valve caps after pumping is finished. Make sure all connections are isolated and capped, and install any required seals. 13. Disconnect facility ground cable. 14. Inspect lowermost drains and valves of the vehicle for discharge and leaks, and ensure that they are tightened, adjusted, or replaced as needed to prevent discharges while vehicle is in transit. Welcome to our team.